Am I okay being a small fish in a big pond? Or, do I want to be that big whale in a small pond? I want to be recognized. My absence has to be felt. Today, I'm here for the couple of hours, but I know that my absence will be felt on the floor. Would you want to create that kind of a job for yourself? Hi, my name is Suresh Rangarajan. I am the founder and CEO of Colive. Colive is a startup based out of Bangalore in India, and we work and solve the rental accommodation problems of the millennials. I'm here to welcome all of you to Backstage with Millionaire. It's a program that I enjoy watching, and I want all budding entrepreneurs to watch, because we're going to talk about some very, very interesting insights. I'll lace it with some of my personal experiences to make sure that you find it interesting. I guess there's a lot of excitement. There is a lot of action-packed days if you're an entrepreneur, and that's why it drives a lot of people to take up this. If you're not a guy self-driven, right? I mean, if you're not a passionate guy, I think that's the most important statement here. You have to be passionate. You have to be proud about what you do. So these are the two P's that actually drive an entrepreneur. If you don't have either of them, and nobody will admit that they don't have it. So it's up to you to do that introspection, figure out whether you really have that passion in you. Because it's like running a marathon very, very passionately. It's going to take time. There's going to be a lot of downs. You don't hear those stories at all. You just hear about the Flipkarts of the world. You hear about the big Airbnbs and Amazons, and you think that life is only about those 3 or 4 guys who made billions of dollars. But life is very, very tough of being an entrepreneur. And most of the time it's you're all alone there, right? So passion is the most important thing, and I don't think you need to make this for Paisa, right? So the other P is everybody jumps into this because they want to make money. Paisa is the driver in India, right? So I think the driving point has to be pride. You need to come out of it and say that, listen, I left a mark, I did this. The pride of achieving something, leaving a mark, is the most important thing that has to drive entrepreneurship. It cannot be money, because actually at the end of the day, nobody knows how much you made. It stays with you. It's not public knowledge, right? I'm not the typical entrepreneur. As you can see, I have a lot of gray hair. I'm in my mid-40s. I'm not the 25, 28-year-old out of college. So I have spent 25 years working in places, and working as an entrepreneur, so flipping a couple of companies. And so the most important defining factor for me was I think people around you, how they react when you become a startup guy, right? It has to start with your wife, your mom, your dad, your kids. Because it's very easy for the kid. I mean, it looks very silly, but my dad works in Citibank, and it answers it all. But today, when my daughter has to go out and say my dad runs his own firm and it's called Colive, and then there is a surprise on their face, they say, what's Colive? And then she has to explain Colive, and so everybody plays an important role. They come back and say, listen, Dad, wasn't it much easier if you were working in Citibank? But so those are the family, the social pressures of being an entrepreneur, right? You need to define where you are, which company you're working for, what that company does, and then probably you need to draw comparisons with what about your competitor to establish yourself. And these are all painful moments. So you need to have that kind of mental strength to overcome all this. So this very important factor is the family. You walk in the lift in your society, and somebody asks, where do you work? And then you have to explain where do you work is not a great thing. If you just walked around and said, I worked in IBM, I worked in Intel, it's so much more easier because the brand is established. So that's one social strength that you need to build in yourself when you become an entrepreneur. So for me, I mean, again, when I started my career with Citibank, it was so much easier. Citibank was a go-to place 25 years ago. Everybody knew there were 80,000 people working in Citi. The Citi was in, 100 different countries. So globally, it was a recognized brand. So it became very, very easy, so when you get out of college, you jump into it's probably very good for you to start off. So, as a startup entrepreneur, you might think that I want to get out of my IIT, IIMs and in straight onto a startup. It may not be the right platform. You need to probably take off in a great brand. It just gets you, going, right? I mean, it just establishes yourself in the society. It establishes yourself onto the work culture, the ethics. So it's great for you to start. You could be a born entrepreneur, but yet you need to probably take off in a place which gives you that the ways how to deal with people, the expectation of a boss, the expectation of your colleagues, the way to carry yourself as a representative of a brand. All these elements are going to make you, shape you into a greater entrepreneur. So my advice to start with, spend 3-5 years. Life is a long journey. You don't need to start at 22 with your own company. Get your maturity, get at least into your late 20s. You don't have a family, you don't have to support your parents, you don't have kids probably, you don't have a nagging wife, you don't have a girlfriend hopefully. So you have all the time, and that's the time for you to contribute to the larger corporation. And that's what probably is missing in a non-self-starting personality. So you have to stretch yourself. You have to stretch yourself like an elastic until the breaking point comes. And that's how much you need to contribute. And that's your testing water for you to become an entrepreneur. If you're not able to stretch yourself in a multinational, they're not watching you all the time. You can say you're going out for meetings, you can call for breaks, and you can while away your 8 hours, 9 hours that you need to clock, and then go home and spend the weekends at home. But how much do you gain from all that? It's about reading as much as possible, doing a lot of research, getting there one up above your boss, literally making your boss feel nervous. That's what you need to do. You need to make him insecure at that point in time to make him feel that, listen, there's somebody breathing down my neck. I need to give up my chair. I need to grow if this guy, if I don't have to be threatened by this guy. So that's the whole thing about, getting yourself ready for entrepreneurship, right? The foundation of that is, get onto a larger corporation, great brand, but, work yourself there into that kind of a position as if, it means the world to you, right? I actually met with an accident I had, and until then I thought Citibank was always, dependent on me, until I met with that accident. I had a collarbone fracture, and I was immobile for about 3 months. I couldn't sign anything, I couldn't check my emails, because I was completely bandaged right from my neck down. And Citibank shares didn't drop because Suresh Rangarajan was immobilized. That's when I really, that was my turning point. My bosses didn't miss me, my colleagues didn't miss me. Life went on. Citi didn't miss me. Citi never sleeps, and it didn't when I didn't turn up at work. That was my turning point to figure out, listen, am I actually doing the right thing for myself? Do I want to, work in a place which actually can actually survive and, be as good or as better than ever before without me being around for 90 days? Then maybe that's not the place for me. Am I okay being a small fish in a big pond? Or, do I want to be that big whale in a small pond? I want to be recognized. My absence has to be felt. Today, I'm here for the couple of hours, but I know that my absence will be felt on the floor. Would you want to create that kind of a job for yourself? Not that, people have to be dependent on you, your job has to become redundant. I agree with all that. But at a certain scale, if I'm away for 3 months, even today my company cannot survive. So that's what is essentially a difference between an employee and a startup entrepreneur. So you have to make peace for yourself, saying that, listen, on the first of every month, there is no credit that is going to come into your account. There's no salary, right? So the second piece that you need to make is about the money that you will make, right? You have to compromise. A lot of kids these days think that, it's a very easy out. I'll go out and raise VC money, and I'll draw a salary. I mean, essentially, until the business makes actual money, what we call as a concept is to keep the kitchen burning, right? So entrepreneurs have to be, frugal. They need to know that, their market link salaries are probably not going to be on offer when they go out and start their companies. VCs, I'm sure, hate when they see a market link salary for the entrepreneur at an early stage company, right? I mean, they're not cutting a check so that you can draw your salary out there, right? So it's your sweat that's very, very important. How much do you value that sweat is how much stake you can hold in your company. So that's the philosophy with which people have to start. I've seen a lot of entrepreneurs, draw up an Excel and say that, listen, I used to draw X lakhs here, so I need X lakhs when I start. Doesn't work that way. Just doesn't work. Even if the VC is willing to pay, it's going to catch up with you sometime, right? I mean, it's not fair on the company. Your contribution is your sweat, and until it reaches a certain scale, you need to establish yourself. You probably operate at maybe even sometimes. I mean, in my last startup, I was at 0 and then went up to 10% of my last drawn pay. It's just to symbolically say that, listen, I am drawing a salary just to make my petrol and conveyance and my kitchen burning, right? I mean, so that it's not for your luxury, it's not for your holiday. You need to demonstrate your commitment. You can't, and everything matters. The way the employees perceive you in your startup, the way the VCs, the investors, the board, your co-promoters, your co-founders, everybody is watching you and passing a judgment, right? I mean, everybody is judging you based on these things. So how do you make a overall personality development based on all these things? If my boss 25 years ago in Citibank ever watches this, he's probably going to kill me. Friday afternoon, my friends and me at Citibank, all young MBAs, CAs, 94, 95 batch, Friday between 12 and 6, we would not be at work. There would be Hindi movies that would get released, and we were in Mumbai at that point in time. We would go and catch the first show of 2 movies, quietly come back at 6 o'clock and sit at work. And my boss used to say, wow, these guys are such hardworking kids. And he used to be very, very proud of us, But today when I look back at it, I feel bad, right? I mean, I was probably not self-disciplined. I was not mature enough. And that's the journey, right? I mean, if I were to expect that kind of a thing in my startup today, I would probably be livid, right? I mean, a couple of employees, fresh MBAs, CAs, vanishing from work for about 5-6 hours. I'll not like it, but that's how the age is, right? When at that point in time I was 21 and full of rush of blood, and this is what So I think until you reach that crux point where you actually start becoming very, very self-disciplined. Remember, you are your first judge. You need to pass the judgment about yourself. When somebody asks you, I think there is this famous Tamil movie where Kamal Hassan is questioned by his grandchild, are you a good person or a bad person? He says, I don't know, because that's the real thing, right? It's about not somebody telling about you, you're a great person, you're a hardworking person. It's your self-introspection. You have to stand up in front of a mirror and say, listen, I am a loyal person, I have highest level of integrity, I am a very, very self-disciplined person. These are the qualities that are required in an entrepreneur, because nobody is watching you, nobody is going to drive you. You are going to create your own destiny, and that's what is most important. So unless you have that, don't jump. And When you're on the other side, you'll always feel that you have that, right? You know, I mean, this friend of mine and me grew up in Citibank together. He's still with Citi for 25 years, and he always feels that I'm doing exciting stuff on this side, and I always feel that he's got a more stable life. So every year we meet at the end of around Christmas time, and we keep exchanging notes, and always for the last 10 years, the grass has been greener on the other side. He thinks that I have a great life. I think that he has a far better life, and we are only cribbing about why we missed on each other's. So before anybody actually jumps into an entrepreneurship journey, I think a lot of self-introspection is good. And being critical about yourself, whether you're that kind of a guy, whether you can survive, your standard of living is going to get compromised. It's not you're going to become a unicorn all the time, right? You need to know that you could get wiped out. So you need to know that you could go bankrupt. Did you expect Anil Ambani to go bankrupt? I mean, so it can happen to anybody. There are many factors. Of course, hard work is important, but market conditions, your good luck, your very, very many varied factors are important in shaping your career. Very interestingly, I mean, I was in the internet space and then moved on to the real estate industry, and trying to build wealth for consumers through building homes. One of the biggest challenges at that point in time I realized was, I think at one end there is, we're talking about real estate industry going through a lot of tough times. The industry is collapsing on one side, but there is a huge housing crisis on the other side. People are not finding homes. Millennials who are migrants, people like you, me, we don't belong to the city. We all make this city our home. And then we realize that this place is a great place to stay, but we don't want to buy a home at this point in time. We can't afford it, and we can't, we are not in that mindset, because this is an Uber economy at this point in time. So we want to live light, we want to be liquid all the time, we want to invest in experiences, which is what created the birth of Colive. Colive, as the name stands, we have colive.com. We started thinking about Colive way before the industry was even, evolution. Created the revolution that has happened in co-working spaces, and now in co-living spaces that's bound to happen. It's basically shared economy to a great extent. These are community living with private spaces for yourself. So private bedrooms, but yet when you come into the living room or the dining area or the kitchen or the cinema room, you live with like-minded people. So that's the birth of Colive. We've expanded rapidly in the last 30 months. Our journey has been exciting, because one end, the tenant journey has been, there is huge demand. I mean, some of the statistics are mind-boggling. India requires about 37 million homes in the next 3 to 5 years. That's the kind of demand that's available for this category of people. People are looking for rented housing in the top 8 metros, and there is huge demand, whereas on the other side, builders are sitting with inventory. So how do you as an operator marry the two is the challenge that we have taken up to solve, and I think we're doing pretty well in the last 30 months, accelerated into over 10,000 beds very, very quickly, and managing the life of millennials. That's our motto. Hey, thank you for watching this program. I'm sure that this would have been interesting for you. I hope I shared my life experiences, and I'm sure you might have some questions that you might want to shoot. Please leave your comments in the section below after watching the video, and I'll try and help to make sure that I respond to each one of you. Just to summarize, life is about entrepreneurship, trying to leave a mark. I'm sure each one of you at the end of this show would be inspired to do something on your own, and I'll hope to see a lot more resignations. Happy entrepreneurship, and thanks for watching this show.